What's going on, YouTube? Please help us out by liking this video and subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Tap that little bell so you get notified every time we go live. We're recapping the long weekend. Up next, Bo Bichette, you beast. Welcome into Fantasy Baseball today on Tuesday, September 2nd. Frank Stampfl joined by Scott White. Today on the show, we've got a long weekend to recap. Big performances by Bo Bichette, Dylan Cease. We've got more prospect promotions, little team name Tuesday for you later on in the show, and much more. But Scotty, how was Labor Day weekend for you, buddy?
It was excellent.
Nice.
It was excellent. It got off to a good start with my my alma mater scoring a big win opening weekend against the, at the time, 11th ranked Oregon Ducks. So I got the t-shirt on celebrating that win.
Repping.
Looking for back-to-back championships, Franklin. I think 49-3 win. Pretty nice. Was pretty nice way to begin defending the title.
I don't know if I should admit this because I do some football content as well, Scott, but I don't watch any college football. There's so many teams, there's so many players, there's so many conferences, and during the NFL season, I need that one day of a break, and that's Saturday for me. So I need a break from football one day, and I can't do it, man. So
that's fine with me. Where did you go to college?
I went to St. Francis College, so not nearly as big as Georgia University or University of Georgia. How do you say it?
University of Georgia.
Yeah, not nearly as big. It's a small little school, downtown Brooklyn. If you pass it on the street, you might think it's like a high school or something. It's pretty small school. But anyway, no one cares about where I went to college. Let's get into the weekend.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
If I care, everybody cares.
All right, fair enough. St. Francis Terriers.
I don't know how that works, but
actually, Scott, both of our mascots are dogs. I'm a terrier. You're a bulldog. How about that?
Terriers.
Yeah, very fierce.
Scarier terriers.
All right, Scott. Oh my goodness gracious from the weekend. I'll let you kick us off.
Yeah. Okay. Let's start out with the grand return of a guy we know well, Jack Flaherty of the Cardinals. His second return from a shoulder injury this season happened here on Monday. Went much better than the first. Remember, he did come back, I think it was at some point in June, and made 3 ugly starts. Went right back on the IL for a couple more months. And, the rehab assignment building up to this Monday return, he looked strong in that. So I'm not going to say it's a huge surprise. Also, he was facing the Nationals, so easy way to welcome him back. Jack Flaherty allowed just 1 earned run in 5 innings, struck out 6, walked 1, 14 swinging strikes on 91 pitches. Good whiff rate. But the most impressive thing about this start for Jack Flaherty, fastball was up nearly 2 miles per hour from when we saw him earlier this year, on average, 2 miles per hour. And he looked more like the Jack Flaherty we remember. So, he has a second start coming up this week. If you weren't willing to chance it for 2 favorable matchups straight off the IL, I understand the temptation because it was 2 starts and because the matchups were so good. It was something I was recommending. And, so far so good. I would say if you're in a daily lineup league, you'll probably want to get him active for that next start.
Because it's against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So
right.
I'm not sure that the matchup would matter anyway, but obviously the Pirates, you want to get Jack Flaherty back in there. He looked really good, Scott. I watched some of the start. He reminded me of the Jack Flaherty of old, the velocity being up, as you mentioned. He averaged 94 miles per hour on the fastball in this one. That's the same amount that he averaged back in 2020, the shortened season. And it's a little bit below what he averaged back in 2019 when he had that ridiculous second half. I think he averaged 94.3 miles per hour then. So close enough. We'll take that, and for those who drafted or just picked Jack Flaherty back up, he could be a big addition here down the stretch. So get him back in your lineups if you haven't already. Scott, I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit here. not really much actionable, but gives us an opportunity to talk about Bo Bichette. We haven't talked about him much because, frankly, he's been a letdown based on where he was drafted. He was, a mid to late first round pick, but he did have a triple dong here on Monday, 3 home runs in one game. He had a doubleheader, but he still hit all 3 of the home runs in, I believe, the second game of the doubleheader. So it's not like he even needed both games. He only needed one. That brings him to 21 home runs for the season. Just trying to figure out, Scott, what went wrong this year for Bo Bichette? Everything that I look at, it's a little bit of things just around the margins, but it's things that just kind of like add up, a bunch of different little things. And that's how we get ourselves to, this middling batting average, a bunch of caught stealing this season, power down a little bit. But what do you think? What went wrong with Bo Bichette this season?
Well, I took his decline partly as a product of the new environment, the deadened ball, the widespread humidor use, which seemed to drag down power numbers even more, particularly in the colder points in the season, the less humid points of the season. And I think Bo Bichette, like so many other middle infielders, was partly a victim of that. I think he was. I think his value is him returning first round value was kind of a tightrope walk to begin with, because remember, he had the lowest OPS among hitters we were taking in the first round. His 2021 OPS, I'm talking about, coming into the season, was the lowest clearly among the first round bats. And so he needed to remain a prolific base stealer, I thought, to return first round value. I wasn't expecting him to decline to being, well, he just now got his batting average up over 270, right? So I wasn't counting on that. I thought the steals could go away, and they largely have. The power, the power is it helps hitting 3 home runs at once like this, but the power pace doesn't appear so far off now. One thing I did notice about Bo Bichette, and I thought this was interesting, since August 1st, his average exit velocity. Okay, let me say it the other way. Prior to August 1st, Bo Bichette's average exit velocity was 91.1 miles per hour, which is good. It's really good. He was 91.4 last year, so it's about the same as that. But since August 1st, it's jumped to 93.8 miles per hour, which is, it doesn't get much better than that. And so now for the season, his average exit velocity is a career high. His hard hit rate is a career high. And yet his expected stats don't look that different from the actual ones. So that's a difficult square to circle. I don't think that's how you say that. It's hard to reconcile that. Let's just put it that way. And yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping the way he's hammered the ball recently is going to lead to this surge in production toward the end of the season, so that we can still treat him like an elite shortstop heading into next year. But if that doesn't happen, and he finishes with like 10 to 12 stolen bases, I don't know. He's gonna be somebody I might hesitate to draft. I don't know. Where would you imagine him going at that point? Round 5 in a roto league? Round 4 maybe?
He's still gonna go high, I think. I mean, just based on his name value, team that he plays for, the prospect pedigree, we've seen him do it before. He'll go before round 5, probably like round 3 or 4, probably 3 in a roto league, 4 in a points league. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd be doing it at that point, because he doesn't look like an obvious, I guess, to sum up what I'm saying. I know it was kind of all over the place. Bo Bichette doesn't look like an obvious underachiever to me this year. Like I think coming into the year, you could see this being a potential outcome for him, and certainly the underlying stats reflect what he's doing too, except for the fact that the exit velocity itself is so high.
Oddly enough, Scott, his splits against lefties this year, something that really stands out. He's hitting just 235 with a 772 OPS against left-handed pitching. Last year, that was 340 batting average, 950 OPS. That's a huge disparity. I mean, I don't know if there's a reason for it. I haven't read anything about that, but it just seems like something that's pretty odd this year for Bo Bichette. He also strikes me as one of these hitters who would be affected by the environment. It's got like a Nick Castellanos, a Freddie Freeman type. You look at Bo Bichette, he's not your typical slugger, I guess I would say. And as a result, I could see him being affected by the decline in power.
Yeah, I mean, the only weird thing I keep harping on it is 91st percentile average exit velocity, 93rd percentile hard hit rate.
It's true.
And yet, 267 expected batting average, 433 expected slug. So I don't know if I don't know exactly what it is. I'd have to dig deeper than I have time to do at the moment. But yeah, that's the one thing that gives me pause when just lumping Bo Bichette in with some of these other middle infielders who've seen their power production decline. And again, he's at 21 home runs now. So the power production isn't the main thing that has declined with him.
Yeah, I mean, if all goes well, I mean, he'll probably still wind up with 27-ish, like upper 20s in home runs. I mean, maybe if he really goes off, he can get to 30. I don't think that's going to happen. But
yeah, I don't think so. We're in the last month here. It would take an incredible finish for that to happen.
The biggest pitching performance of the weekend, Scott, goes to Dylan Cease, who came within 1 out of a no-hitter up against the Minnesota Twins, and he finishes with a 1-hit shutout, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, 14 swinging strikes on 103 pitches here, and he drops the ERA to 2.13, 1.08 whip. Underlying numbers all pretty much line up with what Dylan Cease is doing. He's got 197 strikeouts now on the season with a 15.8% swinging strike rate. Scott, let's just say the season ended today. Who do you think you would rank higher for next season, Dylan Cease or Spencer Strider?
I think I would have to rank Cease higher.
I think so too, just because he's done it one extra season. But
they're
pretty similar pitchers. The control's a little bit better for Strider, but just like fastball slider pitchers, they're pretty similar. They have great mustaches too.
I mean, the upside for Cease is incredible, so I hesitate to say this. I feel like the upside for Strider is higher between the two, but the main thing for me that will separate them is Cease being further along in the year-to-year innings buildup. Like he's proven he can go. He's proven he can take on more of a workload than Strider has yet to prove he can take on.
All right. Yeah, that's fair enough for me. We will have a lot of time this offseason to talk about rankings debates and Dylan Cease, of course. But let's stick with pitching, Scott. We'll go into some waiver wire pitchers. Part 1, these are names rostered between 60 and 75% of CBS leagues, so more so in shallower formats. We had Ross Stripling at the Pirates this weekend. He went 6 innings, 3 runs allowed with 8 strikeouts. In that one, he lowers the ERA. I guess his ERA would have jumped to 3.03. It's still a very good ERA. Alex Cobb was awesome up against the Phillies. He went 7 shutout with 7 strikeouts. Marcus Stroman, must have heard me talking smack about him recently because he's been very good over his last 2 starts. He was at the Cardinals. He went 7 shutout with 5 strikeouts. And then Nick Lodolo, another strong start. He went 6 shutout with 9 strikeouts against the Colorado Rockies. How do you rank those 4, Scotty? Stripling, Cobb, Stroman, Lodolo.
Well, we're at a point in the season. I think September is the appropriate time to do this. I know people have wanted to do it even earlier than that. And what the it is that I'm referring to is looking ahead at a pitcher's remaining matchups. Yeah, looking too far ahead is a fool's errand because rotation alignments change all the time. I mean, next week something could happen that throws all the matchups off. But I do think in September, when you're just talking about 3 weeks left, what are we? We just started week 23, so we have 3 more lineup locks after this week. I think it's okay to start doing that and basing your waiver wire decisions on that. And of these 4 pitchers, the one whose remaining matchups I think are the most impressive is Nick Lodolo. And Lodolo himself has been impressive, apart from this start against the Rockies. Of course, that's a favorable matchup. It got his ERA below 4 for the first time this year. And not only that, but let's see if I can find the stat real quick. So in his past 8 starts, Nick Lodolo has a 2.89 ERA, 1.14 WHIP, 10.2 K per 9. I mean, that's clearly the kind of numbers you're looking at. His remaining matchups are, so he gets Milwaukee twice, team that's fighting for a playoff spot, but they're especially bad against left-handed pitchers. He also gets the Pirates. He also gets the Cubs. And his toughest matchup remaining on the schedule is probably the Red Sox, but that's not even saying that much. So I think Nick Lodolo is my favorite just based on that. Alex Cobb, all things being equal, he would be my favorite because he's been basically since returning from the IL, he's been exactly what we hoped he'd be at the start of the year and lived up to his expected stats and all of that. But his matchups are especially tough. His next 3 are Dodgers twice and Braves. So Dodgers, Braves, Dodgers to be more exact. And yeah, it's pretty tough for Cobb. So he'll still be second on this list for me because I think he's good, but those matchups are tough. And then Stripling and Stroman to round out the list.
All right. Would you drop Reed Detmers for any of those names, Scott? I know he's slowed down here a little bit. Over his last 3 starts, he has a 5.14 ERA. I believe 2 of those have been against the Astros. So obviously some tougher matchups. What do you think about Detmers? Would you drop him for Lodolo?
I would do that. Yeah. I wouldn't drop him for any of these 4. And I haven't looked ahead at his matchups. It hurts that he only starts every 6th. He only takes every 6th turn while most of these guys are taking every 5th turn. But yeah, he has been pretty shaky lately. The slider still looks good. It's still the velocity's still up on it. He's still throwing it a lot. It's still getting whiffs. So I could see Reed Detmers turning it around, but I think I would take both Nick Lodolo and Alex Cobb over him.
So Detmers' last 3 starts have been against the Astros, the Blue Jays, and the Tigers. And I remember when he faced up against the Tigers, a lot of people were upset that he did not come through. But his start this week is actually at the Houston Astros once again. So it's a pretty rough go for Detmers. Like personally, I probably would not want to play him there. So I get it. And I would take Lodolo over him as well. Waiver wire pitchers part 2. Scott, these are rostered between 35 and 60% of CBS leagues. Domingo Germán put together another solid start. He went 6 2/3, 3 runs allowed. 2 of those were earned. Only 1 strikeout, though. His ERA is now 3.12. Germán Marquez was at the Reds. He went 7 innings, 2 runs, 4 strikeouts in that one. Over his last 10 starts, he's got a 3.39 ERA. Roansy Contreras was up against the Blue Jays. He went 6 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts. And he has been very good since returning. He's made 4 starts. He's got a 2.63 ERA with a swinging strike rate over 14%. And Dean Kramer was up against the A's. He went 6 innings of 2-run balls, 6 strikeouts, and he also has a 2.37 ERA over his last 6. Scotty, how do you rank these 4, or do you know any of their upcoming matchups? Because
I don't. No, I don't. I happen to write about, I know the ones that I was looking up for my waiver wire column. Gotcha. That I wrote Sunday night. So if I wasn't considering the pitcher for that, then I didn't look up the matchups remaining. So not knowing that, I will rank these for I'll say Germán Marquez, Dean Kramer, Roansy Contreras, Domingo Germán. We got both of the Germáns in there. So the Rockies won first, the Yankees won last. Dean Kramer, Roansy Contreras in the middle. Contreras is looking good, but of course he pitches for the Pirates, and that's difficult to overcome. I mean, the win is a valuable stat in fantasy.
Yeah, that is true. Germán Marquez, obviously, I mean, he has his hurdles pitching in Coors Field. You don't really ever know when to start him. He's going up against the Diamondbacks this week in Colorado, so obviously don't really love that too much. I know Domingo Germán's going up against the Twins. I feel like people picked him up for a 2-start week recently, and they just didn't drop him because I guess he pitched well. But yeah, the underlying number is not looking too good for Domingo Germán. Roansy Contreras has the Cardinals this week, and Dean Kramer has the Blue Jays. So Honestly,
where is he facing the Blue Jays?
in Camden, in Baltimore.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that might go okay. Look, I mean, none of these four is like a must-start pitcher if you pick them up. They're all just round out your roster kind of guys, and you would certainly want to play the match. Even with the top two I have here, Marquez and Kramer, you'd want to play the matchups. But Kramer's a fly ball pitcher, so Camden Yards should serve him well.
Mm-hmm. In deeper leagues, I've got 4 more names here. Jose Suarez, a really great start here on Monday up against the Tigers, who, frankly, everyone has a great start against them. He went 7 shutout with 7 strikeouts, and he now has a 1.76 ERA over his last 7. JP Sears was at the Orioles, and he went 6 innings of 2-run ball with 5 strikeouts. Brian Bayo has looked better since returning. He was up against the Rangers. He went 6 shutout with 5 strikeouts in that one. And then Adrian Martinez, who pitches for the Oakland A's, he was at the Orioles, and he went 6 shutout with 4 strikeouts. His minor league numbers this season were very bad. He did pitch in the PCL, so worth mentioning. If you look at what he's done in AA and below, the numbers are a lot better in the minors. So I don't know. Maybe there's something there. The name is Adrian Martinez. Scott, anything on these 4 in deeper leagues? Martinez, Bayo, JP Sears, Jose Suarez.
Well, Bayo does seem to be trending the right way, and he clearly has the most upside of this group. So that's nice to see. I'm not at a point where I trust using him in fantasy. Suarez, I mean, this is a great outing for Suarez. We've been hyping up the slider specifically for Suarez. Excited when he throws it more, all of that. So against the Tigers here, the slider was responsible for only 2 of Suarez's 15 swinging strikes. He got 6 on the fastball, or 7 on the fastball, and 6 on the changeup, actually. And I took another look at it. The changeup actually has a higher whiff rate overall than the slider. They both have a good whiff rate, so I think that's another point in Suarez's favor. If you can have 2 pitches with better than a 30% whiff rate, it's not as good as a 40% whiff rate like some pitchers' best pitches, but it's still you can still do a lot of damage with that. And went 7 innings for the second time. Was against the Tigers, of course, and the other time he went 7 innings, it was against the A's. So I still don't know that Jose Suarez is like a must roster pitcher, but he is making the case, I think, to be a late round pick in standard 12 team drafts next year. If he can finish strong, if he can keep this up for his remaining 5-6 starts, could be I guess just 5 starts. If he can keep it up for his remaining 5 starts, Jose Suarez could be in the discussion for a draft pick next year.
All right, let's wrap up our pitching conversation with some prospects, Scotty. Hunter Brown made his debut here on Monday, and it was a good one. He was up against the Rangers. He went 6 shutout with 5 strikeouts. And we also had Ryan Nelson make his debut on Monday for the Diamondbacks. He was going up against the Padres. He went 7 shutout with 7 strikeouts in that one. And then Cody Morris is a prospect with the Guardians. He made his debut on Friday, filling in for Zach Plesac, who went to the IL because he punched the mound after giving up a home run, and he broke his hand, which is the most Zach Plesac thing that you could do. I mean, last year he broke his hand, like taking his shirt off furiously, and now he breaks his hand punching the mound. So good job, Zach Plesac. Scott, anything on, I mean, I imagine there is something on these 3 pitchers, but are any of them must adds? What do you think? Hunter Brown, Ryan Nelson, and Cody Morris.
I don't think any of them are must adds. Hunter Brown would be, but I still think it's unlikely he sticks in the rotation to finish out the season. He got this first start. Astros, at some point, Justin Verlander is going to be back. Even with Justin Verlander out, they're going 6-man right now, right? To have Hunter Brown in there. And his most likely role in on the postseason roster would be in relief. So I imagine they'll want to try him out there sooner than later. But this was an impressive start. I mean, Hunter Brown, like if Hunter Brown throws strikes like he did in this start, walking just 1 in 6 innings and throwing 71% of his pitches for strikes, he's got a really bright future, because the stuff is that, like, there's not much bad to say about the stuff. The fastball itself can it pushes triple digits. It's got a good spin rate. It's one of those fastballs that's capable of collecting whiffs on its own. And Hunter Brown is kind of like Ryan Pepio, one of those high upside prospects that may never get to that upside because the control's so bad, but clearly it was fine in this start, and that was encouraging to see. So I think he's the most exciting of the three. Ryan Nelson was, at least Baseball America had him as a top 100 prospect coming into the year, but he was pretty bad in the minors this season. He had an ERA over 5. And I wanted to double check this because I happened to read just before we went on that Ryan Nelson made a mechanical adjustment at the end of May that made things better. But even from the start of June, his ERA at AAA was 4.67. With well less than a strikeout per inning. So I'm surprised his major league debut went this well. 7 shutout innings at San Diego, 7 strikeouts, no walks. But I need to see a lot more. He was good last year. I mean, between high A and double A, 3.17 ERA, 109 whip, 12.6 K per 9. So, I mean, I'm not saying Ryan Nelson is not a prospect, but he's a prospect with a lot more to prove, I think, than somebody like Hunter Brown.
A former second-round pick is Ryan Nelson, and his next start is up against the Dodgers. So, obviously, that's pretty scary. I don't think you're going to want to use him there. Hunter Brown, just wanted to add, the pitch mix reminds me a lot of Tristan McKenzie, where he's got this power fastball, and he also has 2 breaking pitches with the curveball and the slider, and both of them look pretty good. I mean, the curve in particular, what I saw, 85 mile per hour. It's like a power curve with big break. It's a pretty nasty pitch. So he looks pretty legit. And I agree, Scott. I don't know that he'll make enough starts this year, but he's definitely a name to remember for next season and moving forward in Dynasty. The name there, Hunter Brown. Let's take a look at some waiver wire hitters from the weekend. We'll start off with 2 catchers, Scotty. Cal Raleigh had 3 homers this weekend, a double dong on, I believe it was Friday. He hit another home run on Sunday. He's now up to 22 home runs, which leads all catchers. That is Cal Raleigh. He's 42% rostered. Yasmani Grandal returned recently. He went 2 for 4. I believe he hit a home run either on Friday or Saturday. He's 55% rostered. Scott, if you were streaming catcher in a 1-catcher league, that back end of the top 12, who do you prefer between these 2? Cal Raleigh, Yasmani Grandal?
I would say in a points league, Grandal, in a categories league, Raleigh. Because, I mean, Raleigh's just a 1-0 player with the home runs. He's this year's Mike Zunino, who I think Mike Zunino finished second among home runs and catchers. Obviously, Salvador Perez was first.
Yep.
A distant first. But Zunino hit a lot of home runs, and that's all Raleigh's doing, too. Grandal has always been a better player in points leagues, but I think in the latter stages of his career here, that's going to be even more the case.
And you might have needed a catcher with the injury to Wilson Contreras. I know, I'm dealing with that injury in a few spots. So I picked up Grandal in a points league this weekend. In a 2-catcher league where I have Contreras, I had to pick up Yadier Molina. So that felt pretty terrible, but I know the Cardinals have good matchups this week. So we'll see if he can do anything. Some shallow league outfielders, Scotty. Jock Peterson went 2 for 2 with his 21st home run this weekend. He added 5 RBI in that game. His last 20 games, he's batting .382 with 4 homers, 17 RBI. He is crushing the ball again. 94.4 mile per hour average exit velocity during this time. The problem, he doesn't play against left-handed pitching, and there's a whole bunch of lefties on the schedule this week. And the other name is Marcell Ozuna. Anything here, because he's now played 3 straight. He started 3 straight once again, and he hit his 21st home run this weekend. He's down to 61% rostered. What do you think about Jock and Ozuna?
Well, I don't think the Braves are releasing Ozuna anytime soon. That, he started that first game back from the arrest for suspicion of DUI. And then he didn't play again until this weekend. So he sat on the bench for almost 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what that meant, but they're beginning to integrate him again. The thing is, Ozzy Albies is nearing a return. He's on a rehab assignment now. And I saw a video of Vaughn Grissom getting some outfield work. So I don't know that the playing time is going to remain there for Ozuna. Jock Peterson, like, fine as a hot hand play. I mean, there aren't many hitters I can confidently say are streaky like I can for Jock Peterson. Like that's been his MO throughout his career. Remember, he was one of the few hitters who was hitting in April. He looked like a world beater. And then predictably trailed off after that. And even though he doesn't start against left-handed pitchers, like, the Giants are aggressive about bringing guys off the bench as relievers come in. Like, I remember we saw this with Darren Ruff too. Like, he would seem to get a couple of bats every game, even when he didn't start. And I think that's going to hold true for Jock Peterson too.
All right, let's take a look at some deeper league outfielders, Scotty. We've got TJ Friedl had a double dong over the weekend. He is batting .275 with 5 home runs and 6 steals in 46 games so far with the Cincinnati Reds this season. That is a 16 homer, 19 steal pace over 150. So it's not nothing. It's kind of interesting. Seth Brown went 3 for 4 with a double dong. He is batting .227 with 19 home runs and 8 steals. Michael A. Taylor, over his last 8 games, he's pretty hot. He went, he's batting .382 during that time, 3 homers, 1 steal. And then Lane Thomas went 3 for 4 with his 15th home run. I believe that was Saturday. And post All-Star break, he's hitting .295, 6 homers, 4 steals. We mentioned him recently. He's playing really well. That is Lane Thomas. He's 18% rostered. What do you think about these outfielders in, let's say, 5 outfielder leagues? Friedl, Brown, Michael A. Taylor, and Lane Thomas.
Yuck is what I think. I don't have great feelings for any of these guys. I mean, Friedl, I don't see it for Friedl. I know he's been hot, and there's something to be said for just playing the hot hand, particularly this time of year. But 26-year-old rookie who, even the minor league numbers, nothing really stands out. He's kind of okay at he was kind of okay at everything in the minors, and it's not like he's hitting the ball all that hard for as much success as he's had so far in the majors. So I don't know that it's going to last long for TJ Friedl. Lane Thomas, I mean, we've been down this road with him before, but I guess he's been hot enough for long enough that he would probably be the first I look at here. Seth Brown will make a splash with home runs every now and then, but when it's not going well, it's going very, very poorly for him. Prior to this 2-homer game on Sunday, Seth Brown had hit 159 with no home runs over his previous 25.
Wow, that is terrible. So probably don't want Seth Brown. And of course, he does play for the Oakland A's, so that's pretty bad as well. Some deep league middle infielders, Scotty. Spencer Steer, the Reds prospect who we spoke about on Friday's podcast. He went 2 for 2 with 2 walks and hit his first home run on Friday. So it was a nice little debut for him. And then he went 0 for 7 across the doubleheader on Sunday. He's 11% rostered. Luis Garcia with the Nationals went 4 for 5 with his 6th home run. And in 9 games since returning, he's batting .325, 2 homers, 1 steal. And then Elvis Andrus, I know it's gross, but he went 2 for 4 on Monday with his 11th homer. He's playing well. I mean, 16 games with the White Sox. He's batting .303, 3 homers, 1 steal, and he's led off in 6 straight. So what do you think about these middle infielders, Scotty? Spencer Steer, Luis Garcia, Elvis Andrus.
I'm most likely to roll the dice on the mystery bag with Spencer Steer. I mean, he had the best debut of any of the prospect call-ups, right? His 2 hits on Friday were a double and a home run, the home run to straightaway center. Also walked twice, and he is going to start almost every game. He's already played, I think, 3 different infield spots, third base. He started at third base and first base. I think maybe he made an appearance at second too. He's certainly capable of doing that. Can play all over the infield, and the Reds' infield is depleted enough that there's no reason they wouldn't try him out. He's clearly not as high end of a prospect as a Gunnar Henderson or even like an Oswald Peraza, but he has hit for power in the minors the past couple years and has a good opportunity in a little bitty ballpark. So Spencer Steer, I think, is clearly the best to invest in of these 3.
So he started his first game at third base, and then he started his next two at first base, but then moved over to third within the game. So
Okay, so he hasn't appeared at second yet, but I suspect he will, and maybe even shortstop before the year's done.
All right. And then we do have 3 corner infielders. Scott, Nick Prado went 2 for 4 with his 7th home run. He, over his last 10 games, is hitting .286 with 4 home runs, 11 RBI. Albert Pujols hit his 695th home run of his career on Sunday, and he remains hot. Tristan Casas was also called up. He is a first base prospect with the Boston Red Sox, and he has gone 1 for 8 over his first 2 games played. This season in the minors, he was hitting .281 with 12 homers and .889 OPS, a bunch of doubles. So even if he's not hitting for home run power, I think the doubles could be there for those in points leagues. He is 38% rostered. How do you rank those 3? Casas, Prado, Pujols.
I love Tristan Casas just as a prospect. I've loved him the past couple years. I see similarities to guys like Freddie Freeman, even Joey Votto a bit. Good plate discipline, guy who's willing to choke up at times, like we've seen from Votto over the years when the situation calls for it. Just really good hitting instincts and a great power projection too that he hasn't totally lived up to yet, but you definitely see him growing into it. And he's going to play a ton. So he missed a lot of this year with an ankle injury. And so that kept his AAA totals down. But over his final 19 games there, Tristan Casas hit .352 with 3 home runs and as many walks as strikeouts. And Alex Cora, Red Sox manager, said, "We're going to use him the right way. He's going to play almost every day. He did an outstanding job the last few weeks." And yeah, so he's going to play a ton. And I think that counts for as much as anything. So Tristan Casas is my favorite of these 3, followed by, I'll take Pujols over Prado. He's just the playing time is inconsistent, but it's consistent enough. And he seems to be a man on a mission right now to get to 700 home runs before the year's done.
Oh, yes.
So he would be my second choice, though I think you can leave Pujols for the big roto lineup leagues, I think, and avoid him in a more head-to-head style lineup with only 9-10 hitters started. And then Prado would be third. He just strikes out too much.
Yeah, we did get this question on YouTube, Scotty, and I think I know the answer, but in Dynasty, would you rather have Prado or Casas?
Casas.
Yeah, that's what I figured too. All right, let's hit a quick break, and when we return, we'll get to the news and notes here on Fantasy Baseball Today.
The Waiver Champions League. 9 months of heart-stopping, hold-your-breath exhilaration. While Mbappe shines in the city of lights, Benzema's racking up the hat tricks, and the Reds want Mo Magic in Liverpool. This ain't amateur hour. This is the best of the best of the best. This is the UEFA Champions League. Stream every match live on Paramount+.
The news and notes. Justin Verlander likely will not return from the IL when first eligible on September 13th, but he should be back shortly after that. So some good news there on JV. Max Scherzer was removed from Saturday's start with fatigue in his left side. Buck Showalter downplayed the injury with the hope that Scherzer makes his next start as scheduled. He did deal with an oblique injury earlier on in the season, so it's pretty worrisome, but hopefully they were just being overly cautious. I haven't seen it confirmed that he will make his next start, but that's the plan, hopefully. Shane McClanahan played catch from 75 feet on Sunday. He went on the IL last week with a shoulder impingement. Manager Kevin Cash reiterated that he expects McClanahan to, quote, be back soon. Okay. Zach Wheeler will not return Tuesday as hoped. He is on the IL with forearm inflammation, which means that Bailey Falter should get another start against the Marlins this week. So,
yep, he was added to my 10 sleeper pitchers for this upcoming scoring period. Too late for you to do anything about it now, but hopefully you check that on Sunday afternoon when I updated them.
Yes, that's why you need to stay glued to Scotty's sleeper hitters.
It's not all happening here, on the podcast. I do a lot of other stuff.
That's right. CBSSports.com/fantasy/baseball to support all of Scott's written content. Freddie Peralta was scratched from his start on Monday, though he's not dealing with any reported physical issue. Adrian Hauser started in his place. That game was in Coors Field, so maybe it was for the best that Freddie Peralta did not make that start. Ryan Presley is on track to be activated from the IL when first eligible on Tuesday. Giancarlo Stanton was removed Monday due to a foot/ankle injury. He missed a decent amount of time previously with an Achilles injury, and he's been really bad, Scott. Someone asked me on Monday if they can drop Giancarlo Stanton in a shallower league, and it's risky because I know when he gets hot, he's someone that can carry you, but I think in a shallower league, you probably could drop Stanton. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. 3 outfielder league, 12 teams or fewer. He's pretty dispensable at this point.
All right. Luis Robert was finally back in the lineup on Monday, and he missed time with a sore left wrist and then to see the birth of his child. So it was nice to see him back. And it sounds like Wander Franco will not be back for a while. Once again, he had to be removed from Monday's rehab game due to renewed soreness in his right hand. And he had hamate bone surgery back in July, and he's trying to work his way back, but he just keeps having these setbacks, Scott. And, it's a pretty standard injury and surgery, and he's young enough where I don't think this will be a lingering issue, but it's just something that's in the back of my mind that I hope this isn't something that kind of affects him in the long term.
Yeah, I hope not too. I hope he gets a good thorough examination of that hand in the off season and has a clean bill of health heading into next year. I mean, that's in all likelihood he will. The hamate bone injury can be difficult to come back from, even when players meet their timetable. A lot of times they don't have their power right away. We've seen that many times over the years for that injury. So it's likely he just needs a little more time to recover, and he's going to get plenty of time, of course, in the off season.
Justin Steele will not start on Tuesday due to renewed back soreness. And Scott, I was going to mention that I saw the tweet of Vaughn Grissom working in the outfield, but you've already mentioned that. So should be some good news once Ozzie Albies returns. Hopefully we can keep Grissom in the lineup. Luis Severino tossed 2 scoreless innings in a rehab appearance at Single A on Friday, and he will make his next start at Double A on Wednesday. Brandon Lau fielded grounders, swung the bat, and took part in throwing drills on Sunday. He could be activated from the IL when first eligible Wednesday. Vinny Pasquantino began a rehab assignment at AAA on Saturday. He's been on the IL since August 23rd with right shoulder discomfort. And I did see him available in some deeper category leagues this weekend, Scott. So I was trying to scoop Pasquantino up wherever he was dropped.
Deeper ones, huh? Because he's 71% rostered in CBS, or at least he was when I wrote Waiver Wire Sunday night.
In the NFBC, there's no IL spots. So
yeah,
I think a lot of people just kind of assumed he was done for the season maybe. And yeah, I saw him available in some of those.
Yeah,
leagues.
people are really quick to, I guess understandably when you don't have IL spots.
Yeah.
No, Vinny Pasquantino, I actually started him in basically every roto league where I had him. Head to head, that's riskier, obviously. But I think he'll be back midweek, and I think he'll be back to doing the same sort of things he was doing before going on the IL. Shoulder injury, I mean, I guess you can't be certain, but why would they risk bringing him back if they didn't think he was fully recovered? And yeah, he was crushing it before going on the IL. His last, let's see, I got the numbers right here since I did write about him in Waiver Wire. His last 17 games, Pasquantino hit 362 with 5 homers and a 1088 OPS. Striking out just 5 times in those 17 games.
Wow.
And walking 8 times.
Vinny P, baby.
Yep. Make it, if it's between him and Tristan Casas, give me Vinny P.
Yes, let's do it. Nestor Cortez is in line to start on Thursday against the Twins. Hunter Green will make a rehab start on Tuesday at AAA. He is on the IL with a shoulder injury and is 63% rostered. Scott, would you be looking to re-add Hunter Green if he was dropped?
Oh, sorry. I was thinking Riley Green. Yeah, Hunter Green, the pitcher who's been hurt. That would make more sense to talk about him in this section. And yes, I mean, look, there's always a broader application for pitchers than hitters. So it's easier to give a flat yes to a pitcher, I think. And Hunter Green's one with a lot of upside. I don't think he's must add if your pitching staff is stacked, but if you're looking for help at that position, as so many are, yeah, sure, give him another shot.
And you might be looking for pitching help if you had Sean Manaea on your team, because he will mercifully have his next start skipped because he's going up against the Dodgers, and they have absolutely crushed him all season long. He is still 83% rostered, and that should not be the case. So if you're looking at a Nick Lodolo or a Hunter Green or really any of the shallower pitchers we mentioned earlier, honestly, probably just any pitcher, Scott. Like Sean Manaea, he's been so bad for so long. I think I would drop him even for Jose Suarez.
What's weird about this start is his velocity was way up. And loss of velocity was his best season, right? Was last year, 2021. And it was partially brought about by a velocity increase that we then saw go away at the start of this year. So I do think that's notable for Sean Manaea, but yeah, the results were so bad. Granted, it was against the Dodgers, but still ERA over 5 now for the year. Just don't see much reason to bother with Sean Manaea anymore either.
Tyler Glasnow will begin a rehab assignment Wednesday at AAA, and Harrison Bader is on track to begin a rehab assignment no later than September 13th. He's yet to appear in a game with the Yankees because of plantar fasciitis. Players who went to the IL this weekend, I mentioned Zach Plesac punched the mound because he gave up a home run, so he has a fractured right hand. Aaron Savali went to the IL with right forearm inflammation. Alex Wood with a shoulder impingement. Andrew Benintendi needs wrist surgery to repair his hamate bone. Jorge Polanco has left knee inflammation. Brandon Drury went to the 7-day concussion IL. Nick Castellanos is dealing with an oblique injury. Tyler Mahle, once again, with right shoulder inflammation. And Cutter Crawford is dealing with a shoulder impingement of his own. Let's get into some standouts from the weekend. We'll start with, we got some pitchers here, Scotty. We'll just go by day. And Friday, we saw Alek Manoah at the Pirates. He went 7 1/3 shutout with 6 strikeouts. Jordan Montgomery just keeps going. He was up against the Cubs. He went 6 shutout with 4 strikeouts. Now has a 1.47 ERA in 6 starts with the Cardinals. And then Yu Darvish was at the Dodgers. He had a great start, 7 shutout innings, 9 strikeouts in that one. The ERA is now down to 3.26 for Yu Darvish. Anything you'd like to add on him, Montgomery, and Manoah?
Not really. Montgomery has been better with the Cardinals. And we've talked about him changing his pitch mix some, using the 4-seam fastball more than he did with the Yankees. But the swinging strike rate hasn't been as impressive with the Cardinals. The swinging strike rate on that fastball itself isn't that impressive for Montgomery. So it's kind of weird to square that circle. That's the expression. Did I say that the first time?
Something like that.
Yeah, that's it. Square that circle. Anyway, obviously Jordan Montgomery needs to be rostered at this point, but not sure what to make of it entirely.
All right. On Saturday, we had Corey Kluber throw 7 shutout innings against the New York Yankees. Robbie Ray was at the Guardians. He went 6 shutout with 3 strikeouts. And Shohei Ohtani was up against the Houston Astros. He went 8 innings, 1 run allowed, 5 strikeouts in that one. His ERA is down to 2.58 for Ohtani. Scott, anything on those 3? Ohtani, Robbie Ray, Corey Kluber?
Not really.
That's fine.
Not really. I mean, Ohtani and Ray have been continuing to do their thing. Kluber, this is 4 quality starts in a row now for him. But I wouldn't say like I'm confident I'm going to get a quality start from him next time. You know, every metric of his is just kind of blah. So fine streaming type, but nothing more as far as I'm concerned.
What's going on with Corbin Burnes, Scotty? Another struggle this weekend at the Diamondbacks. He went 5 2/3. He gave up 5 runs with 5 strikeouts. He did have 15 swinging strikes, but over his last 4 starts, he's got a 7.29 ERA, less than a strikeout per inning. The walks are up. The BABIP seems a little unlucky, 344 during this time. The swinging strike rate is down considerably, 11.9%. So what do you think? What's going on with Corbin Burnes?
I'm not really sure. I mean, what's most frustrating about it is, so it's a 4-start stretch, right? That's the numbers you cited. Two of them were against the Dodgers. So, okay, you can kind of understand that. But the most recent 2 were against the Diamondbacks and the Pirates. Like Corbin Burns has got to handle those teams, right?
Yeah.
Whiffs are still good. Velocity and spin are still fine. I don't see any obvious red flags other than the performance itself. So I think it's just one of those situations where something very small is tripping him up, and it'll go away just as suddenly as it appeared. So I would be hesitant to sit him. I did actually sit him for a playoff matchup between us, Frank, and the Podcast for the People League, just a 16-teamer. It's the sort of scenario where I can't see many people being in the same situation I'm in, where I'm deciding between Corbin Burns and Max Scherzer. So I ended up sitting Burns against the Giants, but that may backfire. I'm going to lose to you. I mean,
no, it's
I'm
any head-to-head playoffs this time of year, anything can happen. So I just want to throw that out there.
But I'm going to lose. Bold prediction, I'm going to lose. You have 9 starts to my 6. This is a head-to-head categories league, not points. Yeah. But still, 9 starts to my 6. You have good pitchers. And, yeah, I think I'm going to lose. Your offense is clearly better than mine, too.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what we've got. Sunday pitching standouts part 1. Max Fried threw 5 no-hit innings before his start got rain. The game didn't get rained out, but I think got shortened because of rain. He was up against the Marlins. And of course, those 5 no-hit, he had 6 strikeouts in that one. Frankie Montas had arguably his best start with the Yankees. He was at Tampa Bay. He went 5 shutout with 7 strikeouts. He had 23 swinging strikes in this start. 9 of them came on the splitter. The splitter has looked much better over his last 2 starts. So could be getting a strong finish here from Frankie Montas. And Miles Mikolas, he was up against the Cubs. He went 8 shutout with 3 strikeouts. And in 5 starts since getting destroyed by the Rockies, Miles Mikolas has a 2.57 ERA. Anything on him, Montas, and Fried?
Yeah, I love the direction Montas is trending now. The splitter appears to be back. Remember, I pointed it out in his previous start where the final result was bad, but you could explain it. You could explain his prior struggles because the splitter clearly wasn't working for him, and he got it back at his previous start. It was still there in this start against the Rays on Sunday. 23 whiffs total on 93 pitches, 9 on his splitter, which he threw 28% of the time. So that, like, if Montas has that pitch working, he's going to be fine.
All right, and we have Sunday pitching standouts part 2. Carlos Rodon up against the Phillies. He went 6 shutout with 10 strikeouts. His 201 strikeouts on the season are the most in the National League and second most in all of baseball, behind only Garrett Cole. Jose Urquidy was at the Angels. He went 7 shutout with 8 strikeouts of his own. And Zach Gallen, who easily could have been an, oh my goodness gracious, standout from the weekend, he extends his scoreless streak. This one was against the Brewers. He goes 7 shutout with 7 strikeouts. And that's now 41 1/3 straight scoreless innings pitched for Zach Gallen. The major league record all time is Oral Hershiser with 49 consecutive scoreless innings pitched. I don't know if he'll get there. I think he's got some pretty tough matchups coming up.
At Colorado this week.
Oh, yeah, at Coors Field. So that's going to be a big test for Zach Gallen. But anything on him, Urquidy, and Carlos Rodon?
Yeah, I sat Zach Gallen in another league, another playoff matchup where it's another team where my pitching staff is ridiculous that you could actually think about sitting Zach Gallen, but didn't feel great about it. If he was starting anywhere other than Colorado, maybe not against the Dodgers either, then I wouldn't have sat him. So, yeah, Rodon, I wanted to point out for him, remember his velocity was down a couple miles per hour in his previous 2 starts. The results were good, but we were wondering, is he kind of running out of steam here? Velocity was back up in this start against the Phillies. I almost said Eagles, but no, the Phillies.
We're getting to that point, Scotty. It's tough.
So, yeah, Rodon's still looking good.
All right. We do have 5 names from Monday's action, some pitching standouts. Kevin Gausman at the Orioles. He went 6 2/3, 2 runs allowed with 6 strikeouts. Michael Wacha, another strong start. He was at Tampa Bay, 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts there. Blake Snell now has 4 double-digit strikeout starts on the season. He was up against the Diamondbacks, 6 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts to just 1 walk. He had 20 swinging strikes in that start. Lance Lynn, guy looks like he's just completely back. He was awesome at the Mariners, 7 innings, 1 unearned run with 11 strikeouts. That's a season high for him. And then Martin Perez bounced back at the Astros. He went 7 innings, 1 run, 5 strikeouts there. Lots of names here, Scotty. Martin Perez, Lance Lynn, Blake Snell, Michael Wacha, Kevin Gausman.
And these pitching performances are most fresh on my mind, so I might have the most to say about them. Okay, Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn, you say he appears to be all the way back. The one thing that was lacking was the velocity was still down like a mile per hour or so from a year ago. It was basically all the way back in this start at Seattle. 93.8 is what he averaged on the fastball. Last year it was 94.
Okay. Nice.
His last 7 starts now, Lance Lynn, 2.06 ERA, 0.8 whip, 10.9 K per 9, a 16.2% swinging strike rate. Lance Lynn is back. I agree with that. Blake Snell. So since July 1st, a span of 12 starts, Blake Snell is a 2.69 ERA, 121 hit whip, a little high because there were 2 starts in there where the walks were out of control. But 2.69 ERA, 121 whip, 13.6 K per 9 in a 12-start stretch, like I said, for Snell. In this particular start against Arizona, he threw his slider 39% of the time. It was responsible for 15 of his 20 whiffs. That's the most he's thrown his slider all year, 39%. Only 2 other starts did he throw it even 30% of the time. That's a formula for success for Snell. We saw him really lean on that slider when he got hot last year too. So he might be able to find another gear here if he continues to do that. It's nice to see Martin Perez back down to 1 walk, especially at Houston. If you'll remember, 7 of his previous 9 starts, he issued 3 walks or more. That kind of seemed to be how Martin Perez was going off the tracks, but looks like he's okay now. And Michael Wacha in 5 starts since returning from the IL, 2.34 ERA, 0.85 whip, 9.7 K per 9. The strikeouts are especially nice to see because even though he was succeeding before the IL stint too, 2.58 ERA overall, the strikeouts were lacking, and he's been doing a better job missing bats since returning.
All right, let's get to some hitting standouts from the long weekend. On Friday, Travis d'Arnaud had a double dong. He is batting .265 with 16 home runs, 52 runs, and 53 RBI. He's been a really, really solid catcher for fantasy this season. That is Travis d'Arnaud. Moving over to Saturday, Gene Segura went 3 for 4 with his 13th steal. And since returning from the IL, he's batting .309 with 2 homers and 5 steals. Nate Lowe continues his hot streak. He hit his 23rd home run, and he is now batting .302 overall with an .855 OPS. Nate Lowe's OPS now is 3rd best among qualified first basemen this season. It is now better than Pete Alonso. That's how good Nate Lowe has been this season. So good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Breakout season. Who called that?
I don't think I had him as a breakout. I think I had him as a breakout last year, actually.
Oh, you were hyping him up on the podcast at least.
I did. I liked him as like a deeper sleeper, and I have him in a few of those like draft and hold leagues. NFBC, they have these draft champions. You just set your lineup. There's no waivers or anything, so I do have him in a few of those. So good stuff. He's going to be an interesting one to rank for next season. MJ Melendez had a sock and a shoe on Saturday. He is batting just .223, but he does have 15 home runs and 1 steal and solid plate discipline. 12.5% walk rate. Definitely like that for Melendez. Ryan Mountcastle had a double dong on Saturday. He's now batting .245 with 21 homers and 73 RBI. Tommy Edman has 4 homers over his last 8 games. And after it must have been like a 2-month lull for Tommy Edman, he has really come roaring back. So you'd love to see that, assuming you have him on your fantasy team. And Tyler O'Neill also looks to be hot once again. Over his last 22 games, he's hitting .263 with 7 homers, 17 runs scored, 18 RBI, and 3 steals. He's making a ton of contact. He has a 14.6% strikeout rate during that time. On Sunday, Trevor Story went 3 for 4 with a home run. And in 8 games since returning, he is hitting .483 with a homer, 4 doubles, and 2 steals. Aaron Judge had 3 more home runs this weekend, coming on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and he's now up to 54 home runs total. On Monday, we had Anthony Santander with a double dong. He's now up to 27 home runs. Very quietly, Santander is likely going to hit 30 home runs this season, which it's just flown under the radar. He's been very good. Mike Trout had 3 hits, including his 30th home run, and that is now the 7th 30-homer season in Mike Trout's Hall of Fame career. And Shohei Ohtani had a double dong. He is now up to 32 home runs as well.
I just wanted to point out Ryan Mountcastle's double dong on Saturday was notable because it put him over 20 for the season. And you may remember one of my bold predictions coming into the year was that Ryan Mountcastle wouldn't hit 20 home runs. So technically wrong, but it's going to fall well short of the 33 he hit last year. So, directionally, I want to say I was right. Like the gist of what I was saying was right, even if I was a little off on the specifics there.
I feel like he's been a pretty useful fantasy player, Scott. Like maybe not week in and week out consistency for Ryan Mountcastle, but you look at the overall numbers and you just kind of add it up. Batting average is not great, but 21 homers, solid, 73 RBI. That'll definitely play. I think that's around the same amount as I think I saw Rafael Devers has like 75. So
yeah, I mean, and in a standard roto lineup, Mountcastle's you probably haven't given much thought to benching him at any point with the extra corner infield spot, the 5 outfielder spots.
Yeah,
but anything shallower than that, I'd say he's been pretty fringy.
Okay. I was trying to pull up his roto rank for the season real quick. Let's see what we got. Ryan Mountcastle is the 100th overall player, which surprised me, honestly. Some bullpen updates from the weekend. For the Diamondbacks on Friday, Ian Kennedy picked up his 10th save. For the Red Sox on Saturday, Matt Barnes started the 9th with a 2-run lead. He allowed 3 hits, and then John Schreiber came in and he picked up his 6th save. John Schreiber also picked up the save on Sunday. So he picked up his 6th and his 7th save over the weekend. And I didn't notice how they used Garrett Whitlock in those games, Scott, but
he worked 2 innings in one of them. I know.
Yeah.
I think the one where Matt Barnes tried to get the save and Schreiber had to bail him out.
Do you think Schreiber is the favorite for saves for the Red Sox moving forward?
I guess, but not a clear favorite. Yeah, of the 3, he has the best numbers.
Yeah, 18% rostered. He's pretty widely available. For Tampa Bay on Saturday, Jason Adam pitched the 9th inning with a 2-run lead. He gave up a solo home run to Judge, but picked up his 8th save. And then on Monday, Pete Fairbanks struck out 2 for his 5th save. And in deeper category leagues, 15-team roto, Fairbanks has been really good since returning from the IL. They're going to mix and match in Tampa Bay, but I think he'll give you some good ratios, strikeouts, and an occasional save there. For the Brewers on Saturday, Taylor Rogers picked up the save in extra innings. And then on Monday, Devin Williams picked up his 10th save. For the Yankees, Clay Holmes picked up 2 saves this weekend, his 18th and his 19th. I think he's up to 81% rostered. So he's back up there and looks like he's once again the closer for the Yankees. For the Phillies on Sunday, David Robertson entered the 9th with the game tied, and he gave up a 2-run walk-off homer to Wilmer Flores. And then for the Astros on Monday, Rafael Montero struck out 1 for his 12th save, though it does sound like Ryan Presley will be back here on Tuesday. To stream or not to stream, let's start with Tuesday. Mitch Keller is up against the Mets, Eduardo Rodriguez at the Angels, Mike Myers versus the Tigers, Jose Quintana versus the Nationals, Kyle Bradish versus the Blue Jays, and Rich Hill at the Rays.
Don't love any of them. My top 2 choices would be Quintana against the Nationals, followed by Erod at the Angels.
All right. On Wednesday, we have Ken Waldichuk versus the Braves, Patrick Sandoval versus the Tigers, Bailey Falter versus the Marlins, Trevor Rogers at the Phillies, Domingo Germán versus the Twins, and Dean Kramer versus the Blue Jays.
Patrick Sandoval against the Tigers is a good one. Bailey Falter against the Marlins is a good one. Both of them were among my 10 sleeper pitchers entering the week.
Team Name Tuesday, Scotty. Let's wrap up. We got a bunch in an email from Neil, and we'll start with this one. Holmes me closer, Otani dancer. How's my singing? Not nearly as good as Adam, obviously, but
Yeah, it was fine.
I ain't no hollaback Gurriel.
Okay.
Judge, jury, and flexencutioner.
All right. That's that has 3 player names in there, and yet it doesn't feel forced. So I think that's pretty good.
Neil did say in the email he tried to make these as ridiculous as possible. So just a heads up.
Okay.
Muncie Python and the Holy Gurriel.
Not great, Bob.
Art Verlander.
I don't hate it.
They call me Mr. Bombastic.
Okay.
Yandy Dandy Notebook.
What? What? I don't even get what that's a reference to.
I guess it's like Handy Dandy Notebook.
Oh, like Blue's Clues?
I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
Strider's on the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Shanty get low, low, low. Or I guess it could be low, low, low. Or low, low, low. Depends on how you want to go with that one. Anyway, here's Quanderwall. Which I think is supposed to be like Wonderwall. The Oasis,
Yeah, I think so.
But Quanderwall.
Anyway, here's I don't get what that's referencing. That sounds like a more specific reference than just the song.
I looked it up. I think it's just kind of an internet thing. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
Okay.
Young, Dunn, and Brock. Which I think is supposed to be Young, Dumb, and Broke.
Oh, gosh. No. Terrible. Boo.
They Yimi Carolyn.
I'm booing it because obviously, like, the names just don't fit what he's... The Yimi Carolyn. What?
I don't know. Logie Bear. Do they actually call Logan Gilbert Logie? I don't know.
I don't know. If they do, I guess it works, but otherwise it's terrible.
The Book of Eli Morgan.
It's not a baseball reference sanctioned nickname, Logie, for Logan Gilbert. The Book of Eli Morgan. Okay, I guess if you want to name your team after Eli Morgan.
Yeah, I appreciated those. Good job, Neil. This is from an Apple Podcast review from Odoya911. Jin and Junis.
It's simple. I think that works.
And Morton Here's a Who.
Sure.
All right, we're going to wrap there for Scott. I am Frank. Thank you all for listening and watching Fantasy Baseball today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.